Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. My name is Annette Wallace. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And whether this is your spiritual home or you are newly discovering this community, we are grateful to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth in love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love, and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention, and to dedicate ourselves more fully to living our shared values. People of all ages are welcome and an important part of our faith community. We're blessed to have the children in the sanctuary for the first half of every service, and the entire service is for all ages about once a month. There are no kids here. The nest, which is normally in the front, is our designated area for families with young children. That's really cool. Where we have quiet fidget toys and activities and a kid-friendly order of service. And downstairs, nursery care is available in room 11 every single Sunday. As part of being a welcoming and inclusive community, we have some information posted on the screen that will help orient you to UCE and our service. I have a few announcements. A group of UCE members are working to revive a past tradition of intergenerational camping trips. In the December 20th newsletter, there was a brief survey to try to gauge the interest and needs of the congregation to make the excursion as accessible as possible. Take my husband, please. Please look for that survey link in the last and upcoming newsletters. You can also stop by the program tables after the service to fill out the survey with Gray Wiviat, and she's a good camper. I'm not. Next Sunday, the Endowment Committee is hosting a workshop to guide members through the process of applying for endowment funds for the coming year. It will be held after church on January 5th in room 6 and also on Zoom. And now, let us settle into our shared time of reflection, celebration, and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, those joining us online are invited to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time. To tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on land that was recorded as being transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, shortly before the Potawatomi in this area were forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. This land was then sold to white settlers. We remember the ancestors of contemporary African Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy. A role forced on them originally by enslavement, we acknowledge the intentional violence that landed on North American shores in 1619 has continued throughout the generations and remains a reality today. These acknowledgements are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to take what we learn here today and incorporate it into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join us in our words of shared commitment on the screen. We name these realities with honor for all the ancestors, respect for our and gratitude for the land we use as sacred space. Nancy Burns brought the flowers in honor of her mom's 90th birthday. As she lights our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words on the screen. The Great Turning by Lisa Garcia-Sampson. In these wild, historic, and uncertain times, we gather to remember who we are, who we belong to, and what we are called to do. As we light this chalice, we kindle the spirit of the Great Turning, the movement for justice alive in this nation today. May we feel it in our bones, and in the stillness of this hour, may we sense it calling our name. Please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And before we sing our opening hymn, I invite those joining us online to greet each other in the chat, and those gathered in the sanctuary, say hello to somebody that you might not know. I can't do that either. It's one of those mysterious church things.
Please stay after the service and continue your conversations. If you are new to UCE, please stop by the welcome table with the red cloth at the back of the sanctuary to get more information about our community. Let us keep creating new relationships and building kinship among us. Now I invite you to please remain risen and join in singing our opening hymn. Now this is a hymn. I don't know if you all have sung it in this space before. It's not in the hymnal, but it's one of my very favorite hymns. It's called I'm Gonna Lift My Sister Up. And this is a Black gospel song by Faya Rose Touré. She was born in 1945, and in 2002, she gave up what she describes as her slave name to take a new name in honor of the first president of Guinea. Faya Ora Rose Touré has had a considerable contribution to American civil rights. She was the first Black female judge in Alabama. She was also an activist, songwriter, playwright, radio host. She founded several museums, including the National Voting Rights Museum and the Black Belt Arts Cultural Center. So this song is from a person living into the justice she wants to see in the world and is deeply committed to restorative racial justice. So I invite you to sing it with me here. I'm going to sing the first stanza, and then I'll invite you to sing the next three. It's pretty simple. I'm sure you'll catch on. I'm gonna lift my sister up, she is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sister up, she is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sister up, she is not heavy. If I don't lift her up, if I don't lift her up, if I don't lift her up, I will fall down. Join me. I'm gonna lift my brother up, he is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my brother up, he is not heavy. I'm gonna lift my brother up, he is not heavy. If I don't lift him up, if I don't lift him up, if I don't lift him up, I will fall down. Sibling, I'm gonna lift my sibling up, they are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sibling up, they are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my sibling up, they are not heavy. If I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, I will fall down. Neighbor, I'm gonna lift my neighbor up, they are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my neighbor up, they are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my neighbor up, they are not heavy. If I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, if I don't lift them up, I will fall down. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you humoring me. Many of you may know, but some may not. My name is Emma Farrell. I am your ministerial intern here. This is my second time leading service, and I appreciate you humoring me as I add a couple of extra things that maybe we don't always do here. I go by any pronoun spoken with respect, but they, them are my favorites. And now, since it is mostly just us grown in body people here in the sanctuary today, our service for all ages is going to be interactive with whoever is interested in volunteering this morning. So the theme of today's service is about mutual aid and taking shifts. And so in talking with Reverend Eileen, she immediately suggested, well, what about geese? Of course, geese. They fly in a V formation, right? And they do this to help one another. And so if you would humor me once again, I am looking for maybe about 7 volunteers to be geese and fly or stand in a V formation. Yes. Okay, so whoever is interested, please come forward. I'd like the head of the V, if possible, to just be maybe a couple chairs down in the middle, and then form a V around the chancel, if you would. Look at your beautiful faces. Thank you for humoring me this morning. Beautiful. Oh, I love it. So you're flying that way. So the V, Beautiful. Yes. Fly towards Reverend Eileen. I believe she is worth flying towards. Excellent. You did it. Oh. Okay. Perfect. And we have a prop to assist us in our visualization of mutual aid here. Reverend Eileen is going to help us out with that too. Thank you, Reverend Eileen. Beautiful. Yes. Be prepared to strike a pose. All right. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to read a few facts about geese, and each time I read a new fact, I'm going to invite the head geese to move to the back and to a next person on either side, one of you to move forward and take the place. So let me read a fact, and then I'll invite you to move to the back. Yes, okay. You feel the headwind? Beautiful. All right, yes. Perfect. So, as each bird flaps its wings, it creates an uplift for the bird behind. By flying in V formation, the whole flock adds at least 71% greater flying range than if each bird flew on its own. So for us, people who share a common direction and sense of community can get where they're going more quickly and easily because they're traveling on the thrust of one another. I invite the head goose to move to the back and another goose to step up. Beautiful. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of trying to go it alone and quickly gets back into formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird in front. If we have as much sense as a goose, we will stay in formation with those who are headed the same way we are. I invite the head goose to step back and take a breather. Thank you. When the head goose gets tired, it rotates to the back, and another goose flies point, just as we've been doing. Like geese, it's sensible to take turns doing demanding jobs with other people. I invite the next head goose to step back and another to step forward. Thank you. Oh, beautiful. Geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. You don't? Oh, you're doing it. Bless you. Perfect. Ah, the encouragement of others keeps us going. Thank you. And the next already is up ahead. Finally. Honk. Honk. She's asking for more support. Thank you. All right. And finally, for our last fact here, when a goose gets sick or is wounded and falls out of formation, two other geese fall out of that formation and follow it down to lend help and protection. And they stay with the goose until it's able to fly or until it passes away if it needs to. Only then did those two geese launch out on their own or with another formation to catch up with their group. May we stand by each other like that. Thank you all. To say I continue to be absolutely delighted and in awe with the way this community functions together, how supportive and cohesive you all are. And now, I invite us to settle into a time of quiet reflection as we share our joys and our sorrows. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like spoken aloud, you may write it in the book at the back of the sanctuary. You may submit it through the Google form found on the homepage of the website, or you may email one of the ministers. We listen to these offerings with tenderness and respect. So let us quiet our bodies and our voices during this sacred time by breathing together. We have one joy or sorrow to share today. Rita Rousseau shares that her ongoing concern and grief for Israel's victims of indiscriminate starvation and slaughter in Gaza, especially innocent children, as well as her gratitude for the opportunity to gather with others at a protest vigil Saturday on North Michigan Avenue, sponsored by Mennonite Action Committee and other faith organizations. On the occasion of this feast of the Holy Innocents, singing, "What child is this whose families flee?" and "O come all ye faithful, those who care for justice," in a spirit of solidarity, gave new hope, new depth of meaning. It gave new depth of meaning to this season of rebirth and hope. Thank you, Rita, for sharing. My heart is with those in Gaza as well. Sharing these concerns of the heart is part of the practice of beloved community. Together, we expand our celebrations and lessen the burden of our grief. You are invited to light a candle at one of the 3 stations at the front or at the sides for the joys or sorrows of your heart, now or at any time during the service. And if you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand. I invite you to light as you feel called. For these joys, we give our thanks. For these sorrows, we give our love. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love within us, among us, around us, an emergent property of our molecular and interconnected beings. we offer the meditations of our hearts this day. We come together in this quiet moment to unify our hearts again towards the clarion call of our time. May justice and equity guide us to true solidarity, to know that when I cherish and tend to the divine spark within me, when I nurture myself through rest and mutual care, when I know in my bones that I am worthy of love and whole just as I am, that there is greater potential for mutual understanding and care, that the love we give to ourselves increases the love we can give to others. Love is not scarce, but our ability to extend compassion and grace can sometimes be. I place my hand over my heart and know I can feel the spirit of life within me. I invite you to place your hand over your heart and feel the spirit of life within you. The spirit of life is divine within us. The spirit of life is here. This is the beginning of justice and equity when we go within in order to be of service in our communities and our world. May it be so. Amen. And now, comfort me. Please join. Feel free to stay seated if that's comfortable for you.
I was just getting too comfortable. Sorry. As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, values, and principles to contribute to our community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the Unitarian Universalist Advocacy Network of Illinois, UUANI, which is easier to say. UUANI empowers Unitarian Universalists across Illinois to work for spiritually grounded, rationally accountable, and strategically effective action in solidarity with those most impacted by injustice. UUANI provides leadership training, builds congregational capacity, and organizes statewide advocacy efforts in loving accountability for our partners. You may text to give, mail in a check, put cash in the collection bowls, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. So now, ushers, come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows, and please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy. Adagio cantabile. I love that. I love that piece. Thank you for your generosity. This is Safety Net by Rosemary Watola Trommer. This morning, I woke thinking of all the people I love and all the people they love and how big the net of lovers. It felt so clear. All those invisible ties, interwoven like silken threads, strong enough to make a mesh that for thousands of years has been woven and rewoven to catch us all. Sometimes we go on as if we forget about it, believing only in the fall. But the net is just as real. Every day, with every small kindness, with every generous act, we strengthen it. Notice, even now, how, as the whole world seems to be falling, it is there for us as we walk the day's tightrope, how every tie matters.
I hope everyone had a great holiday. I hope you got to spend some time with loved ones. For me, the holiday was a bright spot in an otherwise challenging year end. Yes, there was work up to it, but when it came, Christmas felt like a respite and a moment of joy in an otherwise tumultuous time. I'm talking about the contentious election and its run-up and looking ahead to what's to come. And I try to balance finding those glimmers with that other work. It can be thinking ahead to the work that's coming. It can be exhausting and overwhelming. Thinking about the last time I felt so completely exhausted, it was the birth of my first child. Picture this. 20 years of knowing for sure that I wanted a baby. Here they were coming, but they were not coming fast enough. I was in labor for a long time. My doctor would come and continually check in on me during his 12-hour shift, and eventually he said, I need to go rest. I'm really tired. He came back the next morning, and I was still there. I was at the edge of what I could tolerate. I hadn't eaten in 2 days, my blood pressure kept spiking, and this baby was just content to keep incubating and getting room service. It was 48 hours of labor. And when this baby finally came, I put them on my chest. They were purple and stunned and silent, and I wept. My kid likes to tell this part of the story because they didn't cry, but I did. So after the first several moments of elation, my exhaustion and my hunger came, and hit me again. And anyone who's had to feed or take care of a newborn baby probably remembers just how exhausting it is to take care and to feed them every couple of hours. So that evening, I was struggling to care for my most precious little bundle, and an angel appeared in the form of a nurse. She offered to take the baby for a while so that I could rest. And as attached as I was to this precious child, I was desperate. So I entrusted this stranger with my most precious one, my little bundle of revolution. That respite, it gave me the renewal I needed. I woke up a new person, better able to both care for and bond with my newborn. I have such immense gratitude to that nurse and the other nursing staff from that night. I couldn't do it alone, even when it seemed like my most important job. So we took shifts. And that's the truth, isn't it? We can't do it all alone. And if we try, we'll be ineffective and we'll further exhaust ourselves, and this helps no one. But another truth is, as you know, we're not alone. We can take shifts for the revolution. I'd like to tell you about a bigger example of what that can look like. I want to tell you about the Cochabamba water war in Bolivia. So the image for today's service is a mural depicting it. And in the late 1990s, under pressure from the World Bank, Bolivia privatized the water supply in Cochabamba. It gave control to a consortium yet led by the US-based company Bechtel. So the Bechtel company insisted on high profit margins, citing the high risk as justification. Well, the Bolivian government agreed to the US company's demands for the high profit margin, and of course, the costs were passed on to the citizens. So rates for water drastically increased. In some cases, by as much as 300%. Even rural farmers using well water had to pay. And for many low-income families, this meant paying up to a quarter of their monthly income on this basic human need. For the poorest residents of Cochabamba, the fear over not being able to access clean water became a matter of life and death. They were desperate, and they were angry. And the citizens felt betrayed by their government for selling to a private multinational corporation, not just because of the financial hardship, but because of the loss of control of this basic necessity. The outrage at being exploited became a focal point for a protest movement. So in response to these price hikes, the people in Cochabamba organized and united to resist. Led by a coalition known as La Coordinadora, they engaged in sustained collective action through protests, marches, and citywide strikes. Now, I know a lot of you out there have seen some protests, some marches, and some strikes. But what was so notable about the way they did it in Cochabamba was the way it was implemented. Periods of high-intensity activism and collective action were balanced with intervals of deliberate rest and community building. Instead of a constant escalation, the protesters would periodically pause, allow people to recharge physically and emotionally, and leaders would then regroup to strategize. These pauses were instrumental for sustaining the long-term struggle of their movement, especially since many of the participants were balancing activism with daily work and family obligations. So they took shifts for the revolution. The government initially responded with violent oppression. People were injured, and a few people were even killed. It was scary, and the stakes were so high. But the people, bolstered by their periods of rejuvenation, persisted together. And after months of demonstrations and strikes, punctuated by periods of rest and community building, the government eventually rescinded the privatization contract and returned control of the water supply to the city in the year 2000. But by pacing the struggle, participants avoided burnout, maintained solidarity, and effectively mobilized their resources over time. The lessons from this story seem to be this: do what you can. Do it in community, and take shifts for the revolution. So after my first child was born, it wasn't just the nurse who helped take turns for this little bundle of revolution. Our minister came to the hospital to give a blessing. A gigantic basket of gifts and gift card arrived from the congregation. Beloved sent meals to our home. My mother came and visited. I have this clear memory of my mom. She was spoon-feeding me homemade custard while I was nursing my baby so that I could keep going. And she probably hadn't done that in 30 years. If you can imagine, my very British, proper mother spoon-feeding me as an adult. So we can't do it all alone. And there is so much to be done, particularly thinking ahead to the coming months and years. I anticipate needs for mutual aid, for recognition of our common humanity, and for trust in one another, more than ever before. In a few moments, I'm going to ask you to talk to one another about what you can do and about what you need. So I invite you now to just start thinking about that, planting that seed. What do you need, and what can you do for one another? Resistance and activism can look like so many different things. You don't have to do the things that don't fit who you are. You have many choices, right? If calling or sending notes to an elected official is your thing, you can do that. If you feel like you can show up to a protest and march, do that. But you can also offer to babysit so someone else can go to a march. You can make small talk with a stranger as a way of opening the door to friendly interactions and trust building. You can bear witness to someone else's struggle, making the load lighter for them. As we see in this space, sometimes just being seen can give someone the strength to do the next thing that they need to do. But the key here is that we do it in community. We take shifts and we rest. So now, as promised or threatened, I'm going to ask something of you this morning. I invite you to turn towards each other in groups of 2 to 4, kids included. Talk about these 2 questions. What needs do you have that someone else could help with? Maybe it's connection. Maybe it's respite. Maybe it's someone taking your kid to the park for an hour so you can have a break. Maybe it's advice or help with something. And what do you feel like you're able to do? Can you march? Can you call an elected official? Can you babysit for someone? Can you bring food if someone needs it? Can you lend an ear and listen? I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then I invite you now to turn towards each other. Thank you all for indulging me. I know. I invite you to continue these conversations during coffee hour. Yeah. So, did you find something you can ask for? Did you find something you can do? Do you feel connected to your community? It's my prayer for us that we find the strength to do what we can, the humility to do it in community, and the wisdom to take it in shifts. Do what you can, do it in community, and take shifts for the revolution. Ashe, Amen, and blessed be.
As Nancy extinguishes the chalice, huh? I can't see anything, okay? I'm blind. So we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please rise in body or in spirit for our final hymn, 10:15, I Know I Can.
Troubles wait at every turn.
rest is resistance, and true solidarity lies in recognizing that our shared well-being requires us to prioritize not just action, but also the necessary space to replenish and care for ourselves. Again, my prayer for you this morning, for all of us, is that we find the strength to do what we can, the humility to do it in community, and the wisdom to take it in shifts. Amen.